Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to this episode of Head to Head Battles. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 budget decks for $65 that can beat the meta. I'm talking like beat the meta, alright? But before we get into this video, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Hit that notification bell for more Dr. Susu. Also, we stream every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 p.m. EST. I want you to be there or be someone who spends money needlessly. You don't want to be that guy. Also, comment down below, what budget deck are you running that you feel is pretty competent against the meta? I'm really curious and I really want to know what you're playing so I can maybe use it for the next video. But alright, now that we got that all out the way, let's roll that intro. Alright guys, so we all know when someone puts out a budget deck, you're usually not winning too many games, alright? I'm gonna have the decks up for you guys here on the screen just like this, and we can talk about it, alright? The decks you're gonna see today are very competitive, and all the decks work really well because a lot of them got reprinted in the 2020 Megatins, alright? So let's go win some games on a budget and dive straight into this video with my first deck, alright? The first deck I want to talk to you about is Unchained. So big shout out to Distant Coder for making this deck really viable, alright, and breaking this deck and not allowing me to win against him, alright. Now, Distant Coder knows that Artifact Lancia is my weakness, okay. That is my kryptonite, the bane of my existence, alright. So, you're probably asking, what does Unchained do? And why is it even on this list? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they meh? So, let's talk about it. Unchained cards give you an advantage when they're popped, whether they're popped by you or your opponent. They will help you kind of generate an advantage by summoning out other guys from the deck. One of the biggest mechanics to this deck lies within its link summoning mechanics, right? Now, every deck link summons, but not like this one, okay? So, the Unchained archetype will link into their next rank, I guess, or their higher link monsters, and they will pop your cards, use your cards. They hurt you, bro, and not think twice about it. But that's not even the most annoying thing about this archetype, okay? The most annoying thing about Unchained is their ability to float. It's like, do I want to attack into it? Will I give them an advantage? Do I not attack into it? And then when it's their turn, they get the advantage. I mean, you better be OTKing or FTKing because they will grind your gears, alright? They play so much on your turn that it kind of hurts, alright? Let's say you activate a card, they're going to pop off on your turn. They literally play more on your turn than they play on their own turn. It's like, man, stay in your lane, bro. There are boundaries, okay, in Yu-Gi-Oh! And also, most of the cards in the Unchained strategy were reprinted in the Megatins. And I mean like most of them, like a lot of them were reprinted, and the main deck you can probably buy for about $30, and the extra deck is like maybe 20 if that, which gives you $20 to $15 to work with staples and other techs that you might want to run in the deck. But as always guys, every deck has a weakness. This deck will lose to the best hand trap in the game, D-Shifter. And the biggest weakness to this deck is if your opponent opens Dark Ruler and Evenly Matched, because if they're banished face down, they are not doing anything. But anyways, guys, the main deck and extra deck, and even some staples, will run you somewhere around $65, which stays in line with our goal for today. So go buy the deck, go try it out, and catch some opponents off guard. Alright guys, so for the second slot, we have Pendulums. That's right, you heard me correctly, Pendulums, alright? The first time on this channel, lo and behold. Do you want 3 to 5 negates on a budget? Then this deck is actually pretty good for you, right? The deck is pretty budget because most of the cards actually come from the structured deck, and structured decks are $10 each. So if you buy 3 structured decks, and big shout out to Nim, you can have a very properly functioning Pendulum deck. I mean, why can't you? And to be fair, this deck on a budget is how it's usually played, alright? And it's quite scary because going first, it can put up a lot of negates with a lot of powerhouse cards, right? So let's talk about it. This deck is based around spell counters, right? Amassing as much as you can so you can use the effects of the monsters or cards that are already on the field, right? This deck is actually really good at playing around Nibiru because Mythical Beast Jackal King is normally your 4th summon. So, say no to Nibiru, and we can't talk about Pendulums without talking about the mighty master of Endymion, okay? Wow, the name is long and the card text is even longer. Now, this card is really good because it acts as a Speller Trap negate and it has a plethora of other effects that, like, if I go into it, that would be the whole video. So I want you to go and look up the card yourself and tell me how broken it is in the comment section down below. Another really good tech choice that you can run in Pendulums is actually the Spellbook engine. Now, the Spellbook engine includes the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, or the Blue Boy. We call it Blue Boy. We have the Spellbook of Knowledge and the Spellbook of Secrets. Now, there are really easy ways to get spell counters on your abductors or your servants or any of the other cards on the field, while at the same time providing the deck extra draw power. Because we're not playing Magician Souls, we kind of lose out on the draw power provided from it. But with the Spellbook engine, it's a good way to mitigate its downfalls, I guess you can say. But we are also running Pot of Desires at 3 because, again, a lot of people think it's a neg 9, but it's really not. And with Pendulums, you kind of need the correct combination of cards in your hand to put up 3 to 5 negates anyway. So if you're losing out on the grind game, but you have 5 negates on the board, are you really negging, or are you just complaining just to complain? Now, the general playstyle of the deck is aggro. So what I mean by that is it does a lot of punishing when you pass your turn, but you leave a lot of room to be punished as you're playing the game. And generally speaking, it is a high risk, high yield type of deck. But generally, if you are smart and you know how to outplay your opponent, you can definitely, at bare minimum, have 2 negates on the board, which generally speaking is enough unless you're playing like a tier 1 meta deck. But if you do play correctly and go semi uninterrupted, like one or probably one hand trap, you could probably make 4 negates and have your opponent do nothing on his turn, which is pretty good in today's standards. And also, guys, I want you guys to realize, and big disclaimer, you need 2 to 3 cards to combo off, period. But with powerhouse cards like Selene, which, like, it's the freest special summon ever because you're always gonna have more than 3 counters on her, that with other cards like Cerberus and Garuda and all the other Pendulum in archetypical cards. I don't think that's a word. I always say that. I don't think that's a word. Comment down below. Is that a word? But anyways, back to what I was saying. Yeah, with all these extra cards that they do have, the strategy has so many different variants, and you can play to the spiciest of spices that you may think of, all right? This deck is definitely limited to player knowledge and player skill, but you can definitely play it on a budget, and if you do well with it, it will definitely reward you with the biggest W's. Alright guys, so the third deck on my list is gonna have to be Plunder Patrols. Now, I'm putting a Plunder Patrol deck IRL together so I can talk more about it in a separate video if you guys want me to, but I want to tell you this right now, because I don't know what the deck does, I can't beat it, which is a testament to how good it actually is as a deck, because it only plays in archetypal cards because it kind of locks you in to Plunder Patrol cards. But if a deck can operate well in its own archetype, it's a good deck, or at least in my opinion. Comment down below if you think otherwise. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what Plunder Patrols are and what they do. All right, so Plunder Patrols rely on their main deck to get to their extra deck, right? Their extra deck monsters will disrupt your opponent while at the same time picking apart your board. And they're also really good at OTKing because that field spell is kind of broken. All right, the field spell is actually kind of broken. And on top of that, you can go second or you can go first. Like, that's how good the deck is, right? Because going first, you will literally summon a monster and set 2 cards in the back row, right? And then you're like, pass. And your opponent is like, I wonder what's happening. And although they are a little bit dependent on how your opponent plays, if you have like Plunder Patrol Booty, which can change attributes, you can literally disrupt your opponent on their own turn. And the really good thing about going second with this deck is you can play build a board while you break a board, right? The deck generates advantage with their spell and trap cards, and the deck has a pretty high ceiling, but once you have it down, you can catch a lot of opponents off guard and let them know budget doesn't mean bad. So some of the most notable cards in the extra deck are cards like Plunder Patrol Ship Lease. This card will allow you to discard a Plunder Patrol card to negate, and on top of that, the discard will help generate you an advantage. And then on top of that, if it's equipped with a Plunder Patrol card, it allows you to add a Plunder Patrol card from deck to hand. Like, that in itself is kind of an insane card, right? If you really think about it. Another card in the extra deck is called Plunder Patrol Ship Moark. Now, this card is pretty good as well. It says if you discard a Plunder card, again, which generates you an advantage, then target 1 monster and banish it, and then add a Plunder, spell, or trap card from the deck. So you're literally making your opponent go -1 as you go +1, which you are generating card advantage, which is how you win a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh games. And I forgot to mention, on top of all that, this becomes a quick effect if a Plunder Patrol card is equipped to it. And you know, there always will be one, so that's just how it is, man. And the rest of the deck has cards that are just as good. So I want you to go out, give them a try, and definitely see if you can master this deck, because this deck will really reward players who play it well, while at the same time understand what they're playing against. Because if you don't, then you can't really resolve a lot of card effects because it is attribute based, right? All right, so the fourth deck on this list is actually Subterra Guru. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh my god, this deck is so degenerate, but yo, it's been played on high rated dueling book, which is a testament to how good the deck actually is and how many eyes it's catching, alright? So you're saying, how can you make Zexal and then normal summon or special summon, right? How are you doing that? Because Numeron Calling says you can only special summon or normal summon one more time after calling Resolve. So after you make all the Numerons and you go Zexal, you can't really special or normal again. But what does Subterra Guru do? And what is so good about the deck, right? It says, set this card. Imagine if you open Hidden City and Numeron Network, all right? You use Numeron Network to get the Zexal out. And then you activate Hidden City, search the Guru, set the Guru, use the Hidden City to flip the Guru back up. Now you have a Phoenix in hand. What does that mean? It means Zexal, 99%, definitely resolving, and that's what we like to see. And guys, the biggest downside to Subterra Guru was consistency, right? Because essentially, if you don't open Hidden City or Guru, you're kind of screwed. But now with the Numeron engine, right, you're running 3 networks, okay? You're running triple Numeron wall, and then you have 3 Hidden Cities, terraforming, and now you're also running set rotation. Like, you have so many different ways to get to any field spell. Like, this deck just got super consistent and super degenerate. But Gurus have always been degenerate. Yeah. I guess 2 negatives really do make a positive here in this case. Now, and I mention this all the time, Subterra Gurus are like the one deck that can play really well under TC Boo, right? And because we're playing on a budget and we're not playing imperms, we can actually use Forbidden Chalice as well, right? Because it essentially does the same thing, just doesn't interrupt your opponent on their turn. But in that case, you can also use Effect Veiler. See, so Subterra Gurus always had an issue pushing for game, but with cards like the Numeron cards that can easily OTK, and Megaclops that is just a powerhouse of a blowout card in the form of a Link monster, Subterra Guru has gotten a lot better. And as you know, if a deck is consistent, then the deck is good, right? It just depends on how good the strategy is and how many times a day you can get it out in your opening hand, right? Because if you can get to your main winning condition 10 out of 10 times, then that's consistent, and that is really freaking good. Now listen, if you play this deck or you're thinking about it, let me know in the comment section down below so everyone knows who to watch out for. Oh, you're dangerous. I'm looking at you, man. You're really dangerous. And listen, I know us Guru players, we stand proud, okay? But now with the addition of Compound V, we're gonna supercharge the crap out of this deck and get a lot of W's that we might have not been able to see before. All right, so lastly on our list is actually gonna be Witchcrafters. Now, this deck, it's okay, it's a waifu deck. All right, we're playing it because of Madame Vare and Golem Maruru. All right, let's be honest, okay? Now, the deck has never been cheaper than what it is going for currently today. Why? Literally all the cards, like quite literally, were reprinted in the Megatins and are pennies. You can attain the entire main deck for about $30, and that is just next level insanity, all right? This deck is actually really fun and can grab you a lot of wins as long as you know how to play the deck. So let's talk about how to play this deck actually. See, the playstyle is all about getting the monsters on the field and then getting your spell cards to the graveyard to activate the monster effects. And now you're probably asking yourself, Sue, if I'm dumping spell cards for monster effects, I'm losing cards in hand, which means I lose card advantage. Well, you're right to some degree, but the Witchcrafter cards, all the spell cards, come back to your hand during the end phase, which means you have gas in the hand for whatever that may come after you end your turn. And listen, you're saying, dude, I've heard so many bad things about Witchcrafters and they're not even that good. Well, let me change your mind, all right? Witchcrafter Unveiling turns all your Witchcrafter anything into spell speed 4, meaning they can't respond to it. It's essentially as fast as Solemn Judgment or Solemn Strike, and the ruling for that is you can't negate a Solemn Strike or Judgment unless you have another counter trap. So Witchcrafter Unveiling as a 3 of in the deck is actually insane, and your opponent kind of has to watch you do Witchcrafter things, which is a lot, by the way. So this deck also actually has a pseudo hand trap built into the deck in the form of Witchcrafter Golem or Ruru, right? This card allows you to do a lot of cheeky plays because it will return your opponent's cards back to their hand, and basically when you make something miss a target, like whatever it may be in one way, shape, or form, like it's very powerful, and your opponent basically loses 2 activations. So this card you don't really play 3 of because you don't want to see more than 1 because it can be breaking the hand. But if you do see that one Witchcrafter Golem or Ruru, I guarantee you it comes in handy. I want you to comment down below if it has ever come in handy for you. And we can't be talking about Witchcrafters if we're not talking about the original mommy, Madame Vere. Madame Vere is literally discard 1 spell and Dark Ruler no more. Like, that's actually insane. If you use Witchcrafter Unveiling and then you use the Madame Vere effect by discarding a spell card, that Dark Ruler no more is probably going through, and it's really strong. Seriously. All in all, the deck has a pretty low ceiling, meaning it's pretty easy to learn, but to master the deck and to kind of like gauge where and when to use your resources, that is the hard part about this deck. But once you kind of understand the ins and outs of any deck, you should be able to make the most optimal play. But at the same time, you do need to know what your opponent is playing and how to beat that deck and where the choke points are for said deck. All right guys, anyways, that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a really good time making it. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, because if this video gets 500 likes in 5 days, we'll be giving away a booster box of the most recent set, and I know you want it. I know you do. Also, guys, we are really close to hitting that 5,000 subscriber mark, and I know we're gonna get there. I want to thank you guys again for helping us along the journey and just being a part of this family and just making it a very wholesome community. I freaking love you guys. There's really not much for me to say there. And again, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this family. All right, guys, and that's enough for today. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. This is Dr. Susu from HeadtoHeadBattles signing out.